And that's going to be Miss Stacy Washington.
Yeah.
Okay, so I told Martin I didn't need to say anything. And he insisted that I come up, and I only agreed because I love this guy. Not like that. You've seen my husband.
We are so gonna tell.
Yeah, my husband's really awesome. But
Punch me right here.
yeah, and he's super cute. Yeah. So anyway, but I don't mind getting up and standing next to somebody who can punch people in the face on a daily basis and still keep it clean and do it intelligently. And that's exactly what we need, because as conservatives, we sometimes can be timid. We sometimes can lay in the back and kind of feel like, I don't want to say anything because I'm afraid people won't like me. I'm afraid we'll hit you in the face. And I love that. To introduce for you and your listening pleasure, Andre Harper.
I know everybody in this room believes in God like I do. And I swear to you, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, in 2008, when Obama was running, I swear I thought I was all alone. You know, whenever I would question this guy's credentials or just have any type of anything, any question about him, you know, people made me feel like I was all alone. And my only recourse was to go up in my attic and just write and write and write. And I had no idea that anyone would care about the things that I was putting on the computer. But that was my only way to vent, because I felt like I was all alone. And my friend encouraged me to write Political Emancipation, and just, you know, wow, the world just kind of opened up. And I swear I never intended to get, I don't even like attention too much. But I'm passionate about what I do. I'm not doing this for money, you know, or anything. I'm doing it because, you know, like the speaker said before, I'm passionate, and my country's at stake. And like many of you all, 2 years ago, you were in the same boat as I was. And we all kind of came together. No matter where we are, we've answered the call, and to take our country back. And we all rallied around our freedom. And you know, I put out Emancipation in the dead of night, and I said, well, if somebody wants to read it, they'll read it. And then all of a sudden, like, I just started, all these blessings. I started getting invited different places to speak. Like Dana said, we met at CPAC. It was a chance meeting. I mean, I was just talking there on Fox, and then Dana and Chris came and said and introduced themselves to me, and we started talking, and I love these guys. I mean, they really, Dana really, I can't thank you enough for the opportunity. And, it's an honor and a pleasure to do your show every week, and I'll do it as long as you'll have me. And I try to be honest. Anybody who's ever heard me, I don't know, I don't try to be PC. I just try to give it to you straight, raw dog, without a bag. Is what and so that's the only way I know how to do it. And so Martin, thank you so much for organizing this. Chris, thank you. I mean, you guys have been, Stacy, thank you so much. Bill, the pleasure is all mine. I really appreciate it. So, you know, Emancipation was good to me. You know, it opened the door, but like I said, I did it as a whim almost. And it was a book about race, about being black, and how liberals screw black people on purpose. And I believe that. And if you look at the voting and you look at our communities, blacks have been voting solidly liberal for, you know, all of my life and then some. And what have we got out of it? You know, 75% of our kids are born out of wedlock. You know, the statistics of black male unemployment, 50% or whatever. You know, we've got the worst of everything. And having lived that experience, you know, my epiphany as a kid was my grandma would send me to go get the cheese when they would give away the free cheese. And she wouldn't do that. She made me go get it. And I could see the despair. This was as a kid. It didn't come together until I was an adult. But I could see the despair in people's eyes. Like, I gotta get that cheese, I gotta get that cheese. And I'm just like, we can do better than that, you know? But it didn't hit me until I got older, got to college. And all of this stuff really started to come together. And so the thing that I really embraced in college, after working on the Gore campaign, I realized how Democrats really screw blacks. And I said I will never support the Democrats again, because that was my epiphany in 2000. And I didn't, you know, join the Republican Party for a couple years after, but I really did my research and realized just what was going on, how they use us as pawns. So anyway, fast forward to 2010, I got to travel and did a lot of tea parties, met a lot of proud patriots, and we did very well, you know, in the elections. We did very, very well. But the thing that I noticed, started watching the coverage, and they made it seem like conservative victory was going to be the downfall of this country. And they made the Tea Party be the chief culprit. And I'm like, the news should read this as this is the power of, and the strength of our republic. That people can come together and really make changes. Despite the media having all the liberals having all the media and all the advantages, we kick their asses. But I found out that 2012, it's not going to be the same game. It's going to be all hands on deck. They're going to try. We're not going to sneak up on them. Yeah. And they're going to do everything they can to keep their Manchurian, to keep Obama, in office. And so I thought, well, what can I do to bring value? I mean, I didn't want to talk about race and all that stuff. We know that's there. I know liberals are racist. People have heard me say that, and I'm going to keep on saying it. But like, how can I help the movement? And having worked in journalism, having worked in politics, I watch the TV news and I read the paper, and I'm like, people really need to understand that the media is not fair. There's an assumption that people have when you open up your paper. The assumption is this is fair and balanced, but it's not. As a writer, I know that it's not. And I know that the simple rephrasing of a sentence can totally change the context. Where you put a story at the top versus the back page will change the effect. How much will it lead? Will it lead the story? Will you dedicate 15 minutes to it, or will you not mention it at all? All of this stuff makes effect, and a lot of people don't realize that. Right, the pictures, all of these things, the simple wording. And I noticed that I watched Tea Party folks. They would do an interview, and they'd say, "Well, why are you here?" Well, I'm here because I'm passionate about my country. I believe in limited government, Constitution, blah, blah, blah. Well, why are you a racist? And you're like, and then they're totally dumbfounded. And then all of a sudden, they find themselves on this slippery slope, exactly where the reporter meant to put it. So I'm like, well, what can I do? So that's why the Citizen's Guide to Defeating the Mainstream Media, that's where the idea came out, to use my expertise as a writer, as a former journalist, and as a politico, to get people, no matter where they are, can first of all understand ambiguity, understand how the mainstream media echo chamber works, understand all of these different tools that you see every day, but you don't realize that they're there. You see them. And so, we've got Dana. She's fighting in the trenches for us on television, on the radio. We got Hannity and Rush. They're doing their job, but they need backup. They're gonna need all the back they can get. They're gonna need people in the break room that can communicate our values. They're gonna need people standing by the water fountains who can communicate our values. So this is what this book is for. It's so no matter where you are, even if you never do an interview, you can sell our values, because the truth is we outnumber them, and there are way more of us. And Gallup proved it in 2009. I think the conservatives make up 45%, moderates make up about 35%, and liberals about 21%. So roughly 75%, 2/3 plus of the American electorate either identify with us or are us, not liberal. They don't believe in killing babies. They understand that if you can't spend what you don't make. They understand that tax breaks give people incentives to produce. They understand that. But the media has made it otherwise, where if you believe that, then you must be some right-wing nut. And that's not the case. So we need to be able to communicate with them, because liberals beat us. They beat us at communication. They beat us because it's emotionally charged rhetoric. It's much easier to say, I don't think anybody should starve. We're the richest country in the world. Why do we have people starving in the streets? And then they say, well, what do you have to say, Mr. Conservative? And you say, well, I think anybody can have anything they want if they want to work for it. You heartless hate monger. Right? But there's ways we can communicate that. And it's just slight tweaks in language. But you can versus saying, I don't think anybody should live in poverty. This country has all the blessings. And why should they settle for crumbs? why should that person settle for the crumbs that you're offering them when they can have the entire cake if that's what they choose to do? Anyway.
How is your book set up? Is it a how-to book? I mean, how's the chapters? I mean,
It's set up in 3 phases. I'm glad you asked that. Now I'll take some questions now. The first phase is propaganda, understanding the power of propaganda from how the Nazis use it, and Joe Ingalls and all those folks who used it, the Russian Revolution, how they use propaganda to exploit poor people, just like the liberals do. They exploit people's hardships. They went out in the countryside and they found people that were discontent, just like the SEIU. You notice they don't go out recruiting in the suburbs with people with master's degrees, right? They go out to find people that are who believe that they're disenfranchised, who believe that they can't conquer. So I talk about propaganda. Next phase, I talk about the mainstream media tactics, where I talk about ambiguity, the echo chamber, how all these ideas are deployed. And then I talk about narratives, like, has anybody ever heard this, that conservatives are racist and liberals are not? Has anybody ever heard that conservatives hate the poor? Yes. Right? So I break down all of these different narratives and talk about, well, how can you combat these and where you are? And then the third phase is practical exercises. I went and found actual headlines, and so people can read them and then see exactly how the wording is. Who are they targeting? Is it fair? Is it not fair? So these are real stuff from USA Today, New York Times, and so forth. And then I have role play, different scenarios, some difficult political scenarios. So you can, one person can play the politician, one person can play the reporter. And the strategy is you're going back and forth, trying to make someone reveal, what it is you want them to reveal. One scenario in particular is the Tea Party is accused of racism. You're a local Tea Party leader of being accused of being racist. How are you going to deal with that? You got a zealous reporter that wants to take down your Tea Party. And then I have another phase. It's called decoding the spin, where I give you a scenario, and then I want you to then you give a headline based on a liberal point of view, a conservative point of view, and a moderate point of view. So really get people thinking about this stuff, so when you start reading the paper, you don't see it the same way. So, thank you, Chris.